So I just watched the first 3 episodes of Arcane Season 2 and it pissed me off. Because it was just too perfect. I mean, the characters, the story, the pacing, the delivery and scenes, everything is just too goddamn perfect. And I am mad at that. Because I love stories. I write stories, I think of stories all the time, and most importantly, I play D&D because it allows me to live these stories through plots, character development, and moments of revelation. That's basically why I decided to DM. Now, whenever I watch shows, read books, or play video games, I'm always on the lookout for inspiration to use in my D&D games. DMs and famous storytellers will tell you to do the same thing. Steal. And if it ain't good enough, steal some more. But have you ever watched something so amazing that it inspired you to the point that you wanted to quit? That's my problem with Arcane. It feels too good to be stolen for D&D. Because it is. Here's why. Season 1 ended with a massive hook in the shape of a winged nuke flying towards a twinless tower. Season 2 immediately picks up with the aftermath, sinking more hooks into you than a mountain climbing pirate. Damn, they did a number on these motherfuckers. Is that Caitlin's mom? That surely is gonna end well. Wait, wasn't Victor already dying? Well, Piltover is wrecked, and it's obvious from the first few moments of the first episode. Everyone's spirits are in shambles. There's tension. The rhetoric has changed immediately from "we want peace" to "this is war, and we're under siege." The Undercity immediately became the creatures who did this, and the council need to scour their basement from these demons. Now just look at this funeral scene where Caitlin says goodbye to her mom. Everything is dark around her, almost like she barely sees anything in her periphery. It's only her and the object of her misery. All else is shady, vague, and absolutely irrelevant at that point. If you've ever lost anyone close, it's a very good way to portray what that feels like. This hit me hard. But then, I realized that she's not the only one. There's Vi standing in the crowd. Only other person with color and detail. And it's because she's suffering a loss as well. She feels Caitlin's pain because she lost her parents herself. But not only that, she also just lost her sister. Powder is no more. There is only Jinx. But there's no funeral for her. And in a mix of grief and this weird shame, Vi leaves the funeral. Alone, just the way she feels at this very moment. And all of this is conveyed in a 60-second scene with more symbolism and depth than Marvel had in all its fucking phases combined. Now let me just try to reconvey this in a D&D setting using only words, from Caitlin's perspective. You stand in front of your mother. She seems peaceful. With everything that's happened, it's disturbing, almost infuriating. You feel it clawing at your chest and throat. The emptiness inside rages like a black hole. There are silhouettes to your side, faint cries and chatter. It's all so far away. The flowers, they seem fitting somehow. You briefly recall the moment when you could have pulled the trigger. You feel rage, but it's soon consumed by that emptiness. Consumed and spat back out, reinvigorated. The coffin closes and you continue to stand for what feels like an eternity, watching those vague figures carry her away forever. Look, I did my best and that took me like 20 minutes to write. You think I can come up with something like that on the spot? I'm not Matt Mercer. And actually no one is. Except for him. Probably. On top of all that, this description would have like a 25% chance of landing at a D&D table. Reason is, you're telling that to a player at the table who is themselves plus their character in between wiping Cheeto dust off their fingers and rolling their $70 dice. They just lost a mother they were theoretically close to. Now, of course it really depends how much you get into your character when you play. But at the end of the day, it's not entirely up to a DM to tell how the players perceive such situations. In a story setting like Arcane, you don't need all this. In a story setting, this description is much more real because it happens to a character you can see. It's easy to imagine that this is hard because you see that it's hard, and your empathy does the rest, if you have any sociopath. But seriously, all I'm trying to say is that it's unrealistic to expect such scenes at a D&D table, and that's fine. Really, I'm okay with that. Totally. No saltiness here. Whatsoever.
Man, you okay?
Away from me. But jokes aside, it really is okay, because it's not the only thing that you could never replicate from Arcane into a D&D game. What might that be, you ask? The action scenes. Attack on the Memorial Day. This scene is extremely cinematic and theatrical, but its main purpose is to show that Piltover, as they are too weak against Zon with their Chemtech. It plays perfectly into Caitlyn, Vi, and Jace harnessing the power of Hextech, even though Jace and Caitlyn explicitly stated before that this is too dangerous and should never be used. In D&D, you put a group of players in front of these green sludge junkies and the party will wipe 99% of the time. They would fight till their bitter end because mama didn't raise no bitch, and they would do anything to win. They would use every single scroll and consumable in their bags, and by the end, if the DM brought in the cavalry of Noxus to save them, the players would feel cheated and the suspension of disbelief would be broken. Action and combat scenes are not there to drive the plot in D&D. They're there to be solved, beaten, conquered, because D&D is about player agency. We as DMs must always remember that we are telling a modular story, which the players have to be able to influence. If not, we shouldn't be playing D&D. We should just write a fucking book. And here's yet another thing we can't take from Arcane into D&D, and that's story. And oh boy, is it a good fucking story. It involves several characters, each with different motivations and beliefs. Jace and his struggle with progress versus the good of all society, Vi's fallout with Powder, Powder's descent into Jinx, Ambessa's sussy appearance and even sussier motivation, Caitlyn's turning into blind rage and zealotry, and then there's Singed. We all know he's there, and still no clue what his role in all of this is. It's full of intrigue, betrayal, loss, drama, and it's absolutely epic to the last particle of this show. No moment is wasted. And most of this would never work in a D&D setting. Reason is simple. The story needs to be player-centered. It needs to follow the party. You can set up intrigue and plot twists and characters and big bad evils with insane motivations behind their actions, and it will all likely just crumble. Because most of the time, the players don't care about the big bad evil's motivations. They'll never listen to their speeches of why they committed their atrocious acts. Players will simply attack first, and every single backstory you created will at best be an afterthought. Now, of course, that will not always happen, but that's usually what happens. Think about it. Why would you confront a bad guy when instead you could get a surprise round? Speeches and confrontations are just suboptimal, and that's what makes most of the drama. So is it really impossible to take anything from Arcane? Well, no. If you really wanted, you could actually play D&D in an Arcane setting. All you have to do is, well, steal that setting. Steal some characters from Arcane, snatch some from Dune, pilfer their motivations, add some of your own ideas. Procure all the lore that you want. Build a sandbox for your players. And just let them enjoy the fucking sand. Because that's what D&D is about. It's not about telling perfect stories, it's not about building amazing plots and constructing incredible scenes, it's not about drama between NPCs or how many cool ideas you've stolen from other stories. It's not about the DM, the player, or their egos. It's not about reaching the end of a story. It's about all of us, at the table, enjoying the journey. And as much as I don't like to admit it, but Arcane is a masterpiece. Your D&D campaign won't be. Because Arcane is a story, and D&D is much more like life.